Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast. We are now 2 episodes deep into Worlds Apart, and I'm gonna go ahead and call it now. This season is already better than last season. Do you agree or disagree, Andy?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we've had enough time to truly make that decision, that if it ended today and there was no winner, it would still be better than last season.
Yeah, everybody gets medically evac next episode. Does it still rank ahead of last season?
Maybe we're being hasty, but yeah, probably. I was never on board with the thought that it's like, oh no, this season got pretty good at the end. It was like, no, it got okay at the end.
Right, last season kind of climbed up to near mediocrity at the end. It's not like it excelled at the end.
That's right. But enough about last season. This season.
Exactly. Let's talk about a good season of Survivor.
Yeah, and I think this episode showed why this season's been good so far, and hopefully why it will continue, is that...
Because there's a lot of naked people?
That too. Obviously that. Always that. But no, not a lot of went down, for the first 40 minutes, but there's a lot of storytelling, and weirdly enough, I want to know these people's stories.
They're actually interesting characters this season. Obviously, I was in the bag before the season even started. I love the cast. I know Probst has been bragging about how great they were, and several other survivors that have met this group have said, they're amazing, they're great, you're gonna love them. And I kinda do already.
Yeah, and even people I wouldn't have imagined I'd be interested in, it's like, yeah, hey, you know what? Let's hear Rodney talk or something, it's like, I'm interested so far. And
let's not get hasty with the Rodney talk.
No, I'll say it. I am interested in what's going to happen with Rodney. He is not as bad as I thought he would be yet. Although in some ways, I kind of still want him to be. That's, if Rodney's going to be anything, be what I wanted you to be, man.
You want him to live up to the idea that you have of him in your head?
Yes. Really, isn't that what this whole season is about? It's just proving how right we were in the first podcast?
We're always right, in every podcast. You can go back and check the record. Don't check the record.
Alright, this episode specifically, we really got to know these survivors.
We saw a whole lot of survivors in this episode, and I know you are very anxious to talk about some nudity, so let's do it.
That is why we do what we do here, is to talk about skin. Now, the commercials obviously sold it, that this was going to happen, and they showed people were going to happen with, but they really kind of undersold just how much this episode would be dominated by various states of undress.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that, as much as we bash the production staff and Probst and all that for, the various ways that they tried to submarine their own show with spoilery previews and things like that, and pandering to lowest common denominator, this time we only saw Max and Shireen in the preview getting naked, and they clearly had footage of 2, nubile young women playing in the water in the nude, and we didn't see that. So, hooray for progressive Survivor editing, embracing all shapes and sizes.
Sure, hooray. I don't know. I gotta say, I think the marketing department kind of dropped the ball there.
Phrasing?
Why not contrast it? Why not the wacky, dudes getting naked, and then, sexy saxophone songs, and young ladies are getting naked? Watch Survivor. They would have beaten American Idol by that much more. We'll start with the most advertised one, or possibly the most naked ones. And we'll go to the White Collar Tribe. Max pays his homage to Richard Hatch, and Shireen decides to follow suit? Is
Birthday
the word?
Suit?
Why do you think why'd they do this? Was it just for the stated reasons, or is it that they really wanted to be on blurred camera?
I think there's a lot of things that probably came into play. Max saying it was to honor the game. I think there's actually a tiny bit of truth in that, because, he's such a fan of the show. He's probably doing some small homage to Hatch there. But I think guaranteed airtime also played into it, because you gotta know, and this doesn't apply to just Max, I'm sure Shireen knows this too, if you get naked, you're going to make the edit for that week, so it's like guaranteed screen time. On the other hand though, they both mention that it allows you to keep your clothes dry, which is very practical and important, and I can see all of those things factoring into the decision. I don't think it's motivated entirely by any one of those things. It's all kind of congeals to inspire them to take their clothes off.
I don't know if I like the usage of the word congeals here.
Congealed, yeah, that was really bad phrasing there.
That's right. It was just like, yeah, next we could just talk about how they were trying to keep their clothes from being moist. Anyway, yeah, no, and the scenes on CBS.com and the YouTube page, which you can read about in my latest blog. Shireen does talk about how she didn't want to wear wet underwear to bed, which I understand that. And I think, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm guessing they weren't issued their swimsuits yet in both of these scenes. That said, I'm not sure it was the best move. I think what probably happened a bit with Max especially is people might have started resented the fact that he was being a bit of a camera hog. Like, these people are a little savvy. They think, I don't know if they're just buying that, oh, he just really wants to go out for a swim. They might be like, okay, Max, put it away. We're all on the show here.
Really, it's going to come down to how offended their tribe really was by the nudity, whatever reasons they might give. You know, if they might pretend that they're really shocked and appalled by it. I don't know if I'd necessarily believe that, but could be an ego thing. Like you said, they could be worried that Max and Shireen are hogging the camera time with their naked bodies. Yeah,
and I think it was fairly clear in the episode and even more clear in the scenes online. Tyler was made uncomfortable by this.
Allow me my rant on Tyler, if you will.
I thought I was setting it up.
Oh, yes you are. I'm going to knock it down right here. Watch this. Tyler has spent years, according to the Wikipedia page that he clearly edits himself, he has spent years in football locker rooms surrounded by naked dong. And you're going to tell me that he's hiding his face to not see a half-naked Shireen? Come on.
Look, by all indications, Tyler has a few hang-ups about things. Sounds like, from interviews, like with So's exit interview, that they had to kind of be on eggshells because he did not want to strategize in the first 3 days. And now there's this. Maybe Tyler is just a little more delicate human being. I mean, you say he was in those locker rooms, but do they let the kicker in? I'm not sure.
That's fair. They might have like a separate pen that they put the kickers in.
That's right. Special teams, you get to hang out with the referees, and right. Check how well the balls are inflated or whatever. Phrasing.
Wow, we're on fire tonight with the phrasing.
But yeah, I mean, why I think it is a potential negative. How much of a negative it'll be, who knows? Maybe it'll just blow over. Maybe they have swimsuits now. It's not going to come up again. We really can't tell Fallout because they didn't lose this week.
Mm-hmm.
But what we did see happening is it gave Joaquin a chance to reintegrate himself with other people. By putting yourself out there, in this sense, a literal, hey, I'm out here, but in more things that you were Max is separating himself. I mean, he talked about how this was strategy, alone time, and it's like, alone time? You know what I mean? Like Aris meditating on the mountain alone time? Because that's usually not a good idea.
Yeah, there's precedent for alone time being very bad strategy.
Yeah, I feel like Joaquin and Tyler were bonding a bit over this. Just kind of like a get a load of this guy, and oh my god, get a load of her. And just, don't want to make yourself other, especially this early in the game.
Well, since you're setting it up for Joaquin, I'm going to knock it down again, because
go ahead.
For the type of person that I presume that he is, he seemed awfully timid and uncomfortable around a half-naked woman for a guy that probably routinely throws wads of singles on a stage to see that exact same scene. I'm not buying his reaction to it either.
Well, I mean, whether his reaction was genuine or not, if he was bonding with Tyler over some perceived discomfort or real discomfort, that matters, like there's two different discussions here, whether it's right or wrong for somebody to want to be naked on an island and whether it's right or wrong to do that in a game where those people can vote you out. Whether these people if you're in a group of 4 Christians, you can't be the guy being out there who's like, God sucks. You kind of have to play along. And so,
looking at you, John Cochran.
Exactly. Yeah, it didn't quite work out. And I feel like could have been what was happening. I think, it was cute and all, and it made for an interesting, advertisement, and it gave the white collar camp some color. But I'm not sure it was worth it. And if you want to also go on historical precedent, as Max is doing, I'm Richard Hatch 2.0. Well, that was season 1, when Richard Hatch just putting people ill at ease actually gave him an advantage. I don't know if season 30 that does the same thing. But also, the second time Richard pulled all of this, we got a really ugly incident of maybe, force your nudity on people.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that we don't get Max recreating the Richard Hatch scene from All Stars.
I'm pretty confident that to be true.
I have a feeling that Max is a little more self-aware, and, it's a different time and age now, Andy.
Well, I think he's completely self-aware, and I think he was doing what, you earlier suggested. I'm gonna get me some camera time, I'm gonna be the kooky guy. And if there's any strategy besides, screen time, it could be that he's trying to deflect how potentially dangerous he is from a strategy or an intelligence standpoint by being the odd guy.
Right, well, even Tyler caught on to that and said, oh, Max is just, trying to get naked and distract us from the fact that he's a really smart guy. So, if that's his ploy, apparently at least Tyler is on to it already.
Yeah, and maybe Carolyn too, so, it could be a swing and a miss, so to speak.
But I feel like we're bearing the lead here, Andy, because Shireen at the beginning of the episode says, and I'm quoting here, Max is a student of the game and that makes me love him. Can we cue the angel singing and harps music right here? Because, as you know, this is what I've been waiting for, and...
And you're looking for any little thing to be like, yes, it's happening, final two.
Any little thing. I was fist pumping. It was great.
Again, I'm going to wait to see, because, I think, yes, that did happen. It was said. My worry is that they made themselves a 2 of 5.
I don't know. I feel like they still have a stronger connection to Carolyn if they need her. I feel like, given the option, Carolyn's going with those two rather than Tyler and Joaquin.
Well, Carolyn was the one that showed Tyler her idol. So, I do think that Carolyn would prefer them over Joaquin, but I don't know, maybe Carolyn it's going to be Carolyn, Tyler, Shireen, and Max.
Well, actually, in the, 10 seconds there that you were talking and I was totally not paying attention to you like I normally do, I thought of this. How long are they actually going to be the white collar tribe? One more challenge? Is it really going to matter?
It'll matter if your newfound power couple aren't together.
Oh, that would break my heart.
I was thinking, as I often do, about the potential for John's broken heart, as you were saying, and
You're so sweet, Andy. Thank you.
Yes. We've never podcasted an episode after somebody that you really loved was eliminated. We started doing this in Blood vs. Water, and Tyson went nowhere. Next season, Jatia was your preseason favorite, but you weren't as, all in as you are currently, and you would quickly abandon ship before she was eliminated. And then, and then eventually we both became so pro-Tony. No problem. Yep. Last year there was nobody. It just didn't happen, so it didn't matter. I worry about what it's going to be like if and when one of these guys go home. Will we have to get a guest host?
Like I said, you can just expect to hear lots of tears from my end of the microphone. Really, we can just put tears on a loop for the whole thing. We might have to actually call in Robot John to give you actually any real words.
And even Robot John would be like,
Robot John sad, Robot John sad.
Oh, poor Chappie. But yeah, come on. Is this the reason why Max and Vince are hanging out this week? Is because they got to know each other on Ponderosa so well?
Don't break my heart, Andy.
No, I'm just messing with you. Alright. So, Max was the only fully naked guy, but we did have another guy have trouble keeping his clothes on this week. So let's shift over to the blue collar track. Do you buy Dan's story, or are you skeptical like Lindsay?
I don't know if he lost them intentionally or not, but I am going to give Lindsay some credit because that suggestion really makes sense, and it's remarkably perceptive of someone that I didn't really give much credit to in our preseason podcast. I can kind of see a reason for it being true, and if it is true, I don't really blame Dan, because if he feels on the outs, he's trying to basically rebrand himself now as like a goofy guy without underwear. And maybe that helps, right? Like, if what he's doing isn't working, try something new. So you kind of can't really blame him if that was intentional and that's his motivation. It's a numbers game. He's trying to get people to like him.
I could blame him for, and I also would say I don't think it's true. I don't think he made up the losing the underwear, but if it was, I blame him for, like, that's your move. It's like, I get the motivation for, trying to be
Okay,
a
fair.
guy, but, maybe keep your ginch. That's all I'm saying. It's like, no, I gotta do something here. I know. See you later, undies.
Yeah, that's probably not plan A in the strategy book.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, tear something open, fall down, do a pratfall. Something like that. So I buy it. I think he legit lost him in the fashion of which he described. But at the same time, yes, I do think Lindsay has him pegged as the guy who is going to just try to play to the cameras and be the big character and come up with stories and like, ha ha ha. And I think the evidence for this is the fact that he had those freaking underwear in the first place.
Yeah, it's almost like Philip Shepard pink briefs or whatever they were. A little too gimmicky. A little too try hard, as the kids say.
Yeah, and like to the point where he had the name for him. It's like, my manties. Because they were like, you lost your thumb? Yeah, I lost my manties. Manties. And like, yeah, he's like, he's hoping for hashtag manties to become a thing.
You think Dan is plotting hashtags?
I think Dan has been thinking out his appearance for Survivor in quite some detail for quite some time, yes.
So you'll believe that, but you won't believe he intentionally lost those panties into the water?
Maybe I just choose to believe. Why lose your gimmick, man? I would at least wait until you got your bathing suit in tow, you know what I mean?
Well, let's not skip over one of my favorite moments of the episode. Did you catch Mike's confessional about Dan's underwear situation?
Well, I watched the whole episode, but remind me.
Okay, so Mike is sitting there and he's saying, Dan, he's basically trying to describe Dan's outfit, and he's saying, Dan has this shirt wrapped around his, and he pauses for a good, 5-10 seconds. It's the longest pause in Survivor history, and then he finally is like, waist? I don't know. really at a loss for words here. Let's go with waist. It's gold. I love this cast so much.
Yeah, so, we got more stuff to talk about the Blue Collar Tribe, but while we're still on the subject of nudity, both full and partial, we would be remiss to not move over to the third camp. And who knew that 2 young women skinny dipping would be such cause for outbreak and anger?
Well, not anger so much as jealousy.
Okay, and I guess that's actually not that hard to believe.
Well, but not jealousy in the way that you would expect. Nina was, I don't know, I found it hilarious that Nina was basically offended that she wasn't invited to the skinny dipping party with the young pretty girls. Good for her, because I don't know that if I were in her position, I'd wanna be, it's like, you don't wanna be the scrawny guy at the gym next to the big muscular guys, It's like, I'll work out when you guys are done.
Yeah, I'm good. You guys actually didn't even have to give me the pity invite. I'm good here. I'd rather sit back with these people here and plot against you, thanks.
Right.
Yeah, no, I thought that was odd. And, the skinny dipping, hey, that's fun. But more important to talk about is just kind of the reaction that Nina had and how much of that was induced. Because it's a bit of a hot topic, to the point where this is why I thought that nobody would vote out Nina first, because they wouldn't want to look like the way some people are already pegging Jen and Hallie.
Yeah, there was a decent discussion this week, or today really, because today was the only opportunity for it. You can take 2 sides to this. Either Nina's right and they're not being nice to her and they're not trying to include her, or the other extreme is Nina's a crybaby. And I'm predisposed to be on Jen's side of any argument, because I like Jen. But, I can kind of see her point. It's just that I think the onus is really, if you have a social game, the onus is on Nina to reach out to those girls if they're not connecting with her. And the way to connect with them is not really by whining and crying and yelling at them because they didn't invite you. Just say, laugh it off, play along with them, "Aw, guys, I wanted to get naked and swim with you. How about throwing me an invite next time, And really, we're dealing with a short edit. Who knows? This may be the 4th or 5th time they've excluded her and she finally blew up. But from what we saw, it just seemed like a little bit of overreaction when she should be trying to, be proactive and build relationships.
Yeah, I talked about this a bit in our preseason podcast, and it was from what Rob Siege shared his experiences with Christie and Amazon. It's a unusual circumstance, and I think it's hard to know how to judge this, because yes, in the real world, a decent human thing is to help somebody with a disability to not feel left out, to make a little extra effort in something as simple as communication. I mean, she has the implant, so you basically just need to talk to her better. And on that note, I would be horrible. My wife would tell you that, yeah, she can't hear me and she has good ears. I am terrible at talking to people in clear ways in person. But this isn't a real world scenario. This is a scenario where part of the goal is to keep people from hearing what you're saying at times, Part of the goal is to form the bonds that work for you and the bonds that won't. Obviously, in a small tribe, you don't want to be actively excluding people, but it's not really on you to ensure the emotional well-being of everybody there, because these people aren't your family, they aren't your friends, they're not your coworkers, they're your competitors.
Yes, but at the same time, there's the theory that they might last in the game long enough to be able to vote for you should you get to the end, so you want to have at least some sort of relationship with them.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, it's terrible Survivor play if they are truly just excluding her. And from the edit we saw, efforts were made, they weren't very successful, and then, two young girls in their 20s decided to pal up and go skinny dipping. And I don't know if this has much to do with Nina's being deaf so much as it has to do with young people on Survivor tend to pair with young people on Survivor.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically how that tribe broke. Also, Nina says in the episode that the young girls have no human compassion at all, and I think that was supposed to make us feel like, yeah, those girls are bad, but I'm sitting there like, yeah, that's why I love Jen. Tell me more. You're only helping Jen's cause here.
And it just didn't bear out, which, from an edit standpoint, maybe it seems to suggest that those young girls are going to do much better in the game than Nina does, in which case there was no point in making them look bad, or it's quite possible that, yeah, Nina was overreacting. And some of this, I don't know what it's like to be in her shoes, so it's obviously easy to feel more excluded. It's also just, she could have been having a bad day. But, yeah, in terms of Survivor play, even if you are feeling excluded, yeah, you gotta suck it up. People aren't going to respond to that kind of outburst in the way that you would like. And then, this wasn't, Nyanka knocking over, one-legged Kelly. Like, if that was there, I kind of feel like that would have been there. But a lot of me feels like the bigger disconnect here isn't, about the disability at all. It's the age gap.
Yeah.
There's, some people in their young 20s. There's Vince, who apparently is 32. That dude has not used enough sunblock throughout his travels.
He's suggesting he looks a little older than his age?
Just a little bit. And then, Nina's like 50s, right? 54 or something
52,
like that.
54, yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, something like that. And that's a real thing, it's not always a thing. Have been older people that integrated well with young people. There's been older women that have won that have done that. But more often than not, it's that old people and young people have the hardest time, coexisting.
Yeah, I think we said in the preseason preview that, if you're rooting for Nina to win, you basically have to, and she mentioned herself that Tina was someone that she was going to be like. So you basically have to root for her to take over that Tina role, and that wasn't a very Tina move. I don't feel like Tina whines and cries so much as Tina makes you want to like her, makes you view her as helpful and useful and someone you want to be around.
Yeah, no, I mean, She looked like she wanted to be a victim in that scenario, and that's a very cool thing for me to say. But that's how it played out with the edit we got. But more like, again, just about the age thing. It's just this is I'm going to share a little anecdote from my life. So like 14 years ago, so just after Survivor Australia, if you schedule your life and times by Survivor.
Yeah, that's how I date myself, by Survivor seasons.
Yes. I did a travel study program that was a bus tour of Canada. So, 16 strangers were brought together. We traveled from, one end of the country to the other end and back. And, for you Americans who've never looked at a map, that's a really big freaking distance. We're a big country. And there was a big mix of people. It was a university course. So you'd have your, straight from high school into university, late teens, early 20s people. You had some people more in their mid 20s, I guess I wasn't quite mid-20s myself, but around there. Then there's the returning, kind of older students. It was quite a mix. And there was people even in their, late 30s, I'm going to say. The people in the late 30s had a tougher time adjusting to the social dynamic of the group. And I saw that then, and you see a lot on Survivor, the older you get, the more set in the ways you are. Young people can kind of roll with it for a bit more. I mean, they have many, many other flaws. But, being out there sleeping on logs, having these weird experiences with strangers, they sleep on futons and crap like that. Whereas, the old people on that trip, and it seems like that, they were the ones complaining that people weren't being nice enough to them. They were the ones complaining to the teacher a lot about the conditions and that sort of thing. And watching Nina go through that's more what I was thinking about, was the age difference, not the disability difference.
Don't you at this point in your life, though, relate to the old people and you're like, oh my god, 22-year-olds are the worst?
Hell yeah! That's the thing. I just came back from a vacation where, I'd stay with my parents to save some money with my kids, and it's like, my neck was sore all week because I had to stay on a different bed. That's how it is in my life now, even though I'm nowhere near Nina's age. At the time, because I was more in the middle age, although I guess not really. I was probably around Jen's age. I was able to float between groups, and it's like, these young people are kind of insufferable, but at least they are more fun to be around. But now it's just like, young people. Yeah, now you realize you were probably really insufferable as well. Well, no, not me. I was always perfectly Never you. Well, because I don't drink, John. See, I was great. Well, let's move on to someone that I don't find insufferable in any way, although I think I might be alone in that, at least if I were on his tribe. Mike the worker bee. Yes, and this is where we get to play a game we like to on this podcast a lot. Does Mike have a great social game or the greatest social game? Mike has won me over, although we're watching with a friend of ours that's visiting from out of town, and she said, is that guy, crying as he talks, or does he have throat cancer? He does have a very odd voice. He's still charming. I love Mike. He's the dog from Up in human form. But I don't think that the rest of his tribe is viewing him that way, or at least half of his tribe is not viewing him that way, at least from what we saw in the edit tonight. Yeah, and what half is that? The younger half, hey! Yes, what a nice transition. Exactly. I mean, we can make this about people picking on Nina because she can't hear her, but I'm telling you, it's just young versus old, and it's happening with Mike too. With Mike, it's a little bit different, and we see this on Survivor a lot, is that dude just can't stop working, and he can't understand why people aren't always on his level. And that's a mistake. Well, half of that is a mistake, because not stopping working yourself is fine. You can get away with that. It's when you rub it in to other people's faces, like, hey, do some work, or, call them out for not doing enough. That's when you run into trouble. Yeah, and I think there's a type of fan that will always sympathize with the worker, because, it seems like a better thing. Look at that guy. The camp life needs to be done. These people are gonna starve, or blah, blah, blah. It's there's a middle ground, There's a lot of time in Survivor, and it's not just always about chores, So yes, fires need to be tended, and, shelters need to be reinforced, but there's also time for not doing those things. There's a lot of time. Yes. Basically they do a challenge for 30 minutes or 2 hours every 3 days. Other than that, it's just kind of laying around. Yeah, so
out of basically 72 hours, we're getting 40 minutes. So that should tell you how much action takes place over the course of 3 days.
And look, if you're in a tribe where everybody has a strong work ethic, then yeah, you've got to pick it up and you've got to be like that too. But yeah, if you're in a tribe where there's 3 younger people that aren't, used to being out there and drilling rigs and working for about 15-hour shifts or whatever, maybe chill a bit and hang out. Because even if you're not complaining about their work ethic, which obviously Mike was, you're missing out on the key socializing time. That's where the game is won and lost.
Well, we haven't done a historical segment in a long time, and so here's a nice, fun, short one. Name the last time that someone demanding other people work harder went over well.
I think people loved it when Rupert used to do it, right?
Oh, man, so endearing. They loved that stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? I bet Mike probably maybe even watching himself at home is like, it's what Survivor is, and it doesn't seem to take very long for you just to become who you are. And I'm guessing Mike complains when, he's doing something at home and his wife isn't,
I don't think he's married.
Really? Oh, I think you're right, actually.
Ladies in the audience, keep those dreams alive.
What's wrong with him? He's old. You know what? I bet this is what's wrong with him. He's always
This is why he's not married. He demands hard work.
That's right. I think he even said that no woman can keep up with his level. And I assume that was his hard partying ways, but maybe it's just like, no, I really got to keep these dishes clean. No. Nobody's ever done well in Survivor by haranguing other people about their failings.
Okay, so what Mike did was kind of bad, but let's talk about the actual disaster of this episode. The No-Collar Tribe and their bizarre attempt at strategizing, because it infuriated me, so I know that it infuriated you as well.
No split, stop splitting, there's not enough people to split.
Don't get cute when you have 6 people.
And actually, to take quickly a detour there, this is why the 3-person tribe, or 3-tribe format is so much better, right?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to be a player in this format, but it certainly makes the strategy and, for the viewers, it makes it much more interesting.
Yeah, like, it would have been just so easy if this is 8 people. It's just be like, yeah, Nina, sure, no problem.
Yep.
She's the old person. She, yelled at all of us. There we go. And there just would have been no agency. There would have been no movement. But with 6, this is like, hey, everything, every player matters.
Right. But I really need one of these ill-advised vote splits to just screw someone at one point, because...
You mean like Tyson?
No, listen. Let us not bring that up. I'm talking about the split at 6, because I feel like this happened recently too, and it's like, there's just too much risk involved. I'm fine with taking some calculated risks, but the risk-reward thing just isn't there. I mean, roll the dice and throw your 3 votes on Nina or whoever your target was. In this case, it turned out to be Vince, but just don't try to get so cute when you have 6 people.
Well, the target was actually Nina, and we'll get to that. Like, the majority of people, or I guess the 3 people, the Joe, Jen, Hallie were trying to vote out Nina. Vince was the split, so to speak. Now, yeah, it was just a bad move. Yes, don't get cute. Just do the thing, vote somebody out. But here's also, again, why idols have been a good introduction to the game. And every once in a while, you get longtime fans who are like, oh, idols. Let's do a season without idols. And sure enough, there's been a lot of seasons where idols didn't seem to matter. But typically, the complaints about idols tend to happen in seasons where people don't like get idols. It's like, hey, I hate idols because Tony has them. But, it's not so bad when Malcolm has them.
Because Malcolm's so pretty.
Yeah. But the presence of an idol forces people to play a little more differently, So the combination of the 3-tribe format and the threat of an idol prevents, just your typical first couple episodes that we would normally see. Like, this episode was more interesting at the end, albeit infuriating, because of these things. Now, why were they so worried that Nina would have an idol? Part of it is because Nina was so obviously the target and so obviously on the outside that it's like, well, if she has an idol, she's going to play it.
And then plus they're clearly not hanging out with her, so they don't know what she's doing while she's by herself.
That's
So
right.
she could have had an idol in that time.
And every time they asked her, it's like she wasn't even listening. No. Now I am. I'm like
terrible
Jen.
person,
I'm a
Andy.
spec. Let's leave all your comments. I deserve them. Now, here's where, in Vince's exit interview with Rob today, he gave a little bit of insight here that always, you got to just, the kernel of everybody's exit interview is their own hagiography, and you just have to decide how much you believe. But there might have been a reason why Joe was that paranoid about Nina possibly having an idol. And it's basically because Vince had been planting the seed since like day 2 that Nina's out there looking for idols. And I think in day 5, Vince claims that he even told them, yeah, Nina told me she has an idol. So I think they had legitimate reasons to feel like Nina has an idol and she's going to play it. So they weren't completely overthinking it. I think, though, then the move is vote on Vince. Just put 4 votes on Vince.
I was going to say, so if you're convinced that she has the idol, then just don't vote for her. Let her play it and then take out Vince anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you do blindsides. And obviously you couldn't blindside Nina anymore because it was so obvious. The weakest member of the tribe, the person who, by her own admission, is not getting along with people. Then yeah, don't vote for her. This is what Boston Rob did in Redemption Island. Christina was the most at odds. Christina had an idol, so they just voted out Francesca. And then it was the next episode, same deal, and then they voted out Matt Elrod. So it's just like, you have options. Clearly, if you didn't have options, you couldn't do the vote split. At this point, you don't really care if it's Vince or if it's Nina. You'd prefer it be Nina just because it's nice to have. Theoretically, it's nice to have Vince around for challenges. I'm not sure he's actually performed well in the 2 they've had. He couldn't open the locks in the first one. He couldn't hit a basket in the second one. But, yeah, if you're worried about an idol, just blindside the other person.
Yeah, keeping Vince for a challenge, probably 1 challenge at most, maybe 2, is not your bridge to die on. You're going to get rid of him anyway. Just do it now and be safe about it.
Yeah, and it's not the reason why you have that much power over to Will, who you're not quite sure on. And here's the other thing, in the discussion that they aired, when it's Joe, Jen, and Will, did it feel like Will was all that committed to you? Shouldn't they have picked up on it when he wasn't like, yes. He was kind of man.
Unless that's just his demeanor all the time, I got a very oh, yeah, sure, guys, that sounds great. I'll get back to you. I'm gonna go over here now.
Yeah.
Just, it didn't sell me. I mean, again, unless that's his demeanor all the time, I wouldn't have been sold.
Yeah. At the very least, there should have been enough red flags to be like, you know what? Let's 3 of us just vote for Vince.
Exactly. Which is the right plan all along.
Yeah. So that was the first bad move by, the brain trust of the operation. Next, you have, Vince and Nina getting together to target Joe, and then, not Joe, but Jen. I actually don't have a problem with this, other than I desperately don't want it to be Jen. But from their perspective, I don't think you vote out Joe just yet. He is clearly their best athlete altogether. And in fact, I think this was Vince's most lucid moment of his time on the island, where he was even talking Joe is an asset to me, and losing somebody would probably even make him want to try harder in challenges so that we don't vote him out. So that all went well, and Will seemed to be on board until, what was Nina doing?
Loose lips sink ships, Nina. Why would you bring that up? Actually, you know what? You can bring that up. Just wait until after the first vote to bring it up. And then, if she had done that, it actually betters her position to do so, because then she's now got Will on her side thinking yeah, Vince is out to get me, but Nina's down for me. I'm with Nina now.
Yeah, no, it was just a horrible moment altogether. And, the people that are fans for Nina right now, the people that are sympathetic for Nina, is what? She's just being a good person. She's just showing legitimate concern for somebody. And it's sure. Welcome to Survivor. I don't understand. It's people watch the show in many different ways, and we should just leave it at that. And their way
and most of them watch it the wrong way.
I was about to say that doesn't necessarily make it wrong, but I was completely effing lying when I was thinking of it.
Yes, you were, because that's not true at all.
Yeah, you can show human concern for people, but not when it's business time. It's time to get down, and you don't need.
It's business.
It's time. Yes, the socks are on. It's time to go. Yeah, like, that totally blew it. I believe the edit 100%. No, he sold out the other people. He was feeding all the information. There was no reason for him to just, well, if he was still mulling over his options. But as soon as he hears that somebody in my alliance is thinking that I might need to go, and like, yeah, Nina, oh my god, she is, I'm sure, a perfectly lovely woman. I am also 100% sure that she is terrible at Survivor.
Yeah, it was not a good showing for her tonight.
No, it wasn't. So yes, Will takes that information. Should he have flipped?
I don't know that either option was really bad or good for Will. I mean, aligning with the 3 younger people is probably not his best option, but really he's probably got to last 1 vote more, maybe. I mean, assuming they lose another challenge. And I think he could do that because he would know that Nina's beneath him. And then at some point you're getting, not a merge, but you're getting the tribe swap or whatever. So you're not going to be with this tribe for much longer necessarily. So really sort of low risk for him, whichever side he decides to go with.
Yeah, I honestly didn't mind what Will did this episode. I think, he was laying back, he was listening, he was observing, he was trying to find the best scenario for Will. And I do think flipping was the right move, even if it wasn't ideal, because, by going rogue. Because it's not just that he flipped back to that side, but he wasn't supposed to vote for Vince. He did that on his own, and that sends a signal out that, he is not as cooperative an alliance partner as need be. That said, I'm not sure it's that damaging. I'm not sure those 3 will hold it against him. And also, it might send a signal. It's like, yeah, I matter here, folks. I'm not just number 4. You need to, pay attention to me as well. But, you hear that Vince is coming, and maybe it's just concerns, but Will's also been on that island for 6 days. He's probably seen Vince not be necessarily the most stable human being that it could be. So if he might have already kind of had in his back of his mind, it's like, okay, I get along with Nina more. I'm not just the 4th person in an alliance of 4. This is a good spot for me. It could take over and I could become more of a power player. But do I really want to lay everything out on the line for a kook like Vince? And then you hear that, and it's just kind of like, hey, you know what? Let's just abandon ship. That was a bad idea. I'm not tying my fate to this guy.
Yeah. Again, I can't really fault the guy for abandoning ship on that plan.
Yeah, and, going rogue and voting Vince out rather than sticking with the plan to get out Nina, that is also actually, maybe not the best execution, but that's the best move for him. He should not be wanting to get rid of Nina. The last thing you want to do when you are a weak link physically is enforce the idea that we must get rid of the weak link the physical weak links.
Sure, the corollary to that is Tony's strategy, which is just keep another target around at all times. Just so you can always point to the other target and be like, well, yeah, but why me when there's this person to vote for? That was Tony's whole game of keeping Spencer and Tasha around for way longer than they should have, because there's always the threat that Spencer and Tasha are still here. Why would you take Tony out? Same thing here. Why would you get rid of Nina? Because then suddenly you're the target. You keep Nina around, you can be like, hey guys, we gotta vote someone out. Why me though? Why not Nina?
Yeah, and also Nina is loyal to him in a way that Vince was not, even if you're not spooked by what she said, and then obviously if you are, he's completely not. So I actually don't mind what Will did at all. A lot of people are dismissing it as like, oh, it's just emotional. It's like, well, yeah, but it wasn't bad emotional. He probably had a gut instinct, and I kind of feel like that gut instinct was right. It's kind of like, whoa. Do I really want to put it on the line for somebody who is this weird? So yes, we head into the final commercial break with Will having a decision to make, and one of those seeming to be to vote out one of our preseason favorite, Jen. How worried were you that we were about to lose her?
Not very surprised. I mean, I feel like I should have been, but I don't know if it was just the edit of the show or what, but I just wasn't nervous. I felt like I'd gotten a vibe, and we don't do spoilers or anything around here, so I didn't know for sure that she was safe. It was just, I didn't feel like what we saw of Jen in that episode said to me, yeah, Jen might go home. And in fact, there was a moment at Tribal Council where Jen says something like nobody should ever feel safe or something like that. that's usually not the kind of thing that they'll show you saying on the episode that you go out. They want you to say something stupid like, oh, I'm safe, I'm in the driver's seat right now. They like that. They're not going to have you look competent before they get you kicked out.
Yeah, although they also did say that she was excited to be a tribal council. That
is
gotcha
true.
One.
Yes, that is true.
I'll say I was a little nervous, but not as nervous as I should have been. Like you, it just didn't quite feel like it. And I don't know if it was because the vote out Jen thing happened just a little too soon in the strategizing segment, and it still felt like there was another shoe to drop. Or if it was another simple thing is that in a way I comforted myself over the commercial break, is if she was getting voted out tonight, wouldn't she have looked a lot more awful in the segment with Nina?
Yeah, that's true. They would have definitely shown her being a terrible human being if she was going home. Assuming they had such footage, which, come on, it's Jen, I'm sure they do.
Yes. But there was still a little bit of nervousness, because it was on the table. Like, I legitimately think that she was going home until Nina pulled Will aside. So, like, I don't think they were playing games with us there. And it's just kind of a reaction I was noticing, and I notice it from time to time, is when I'm invested in a Survivor character and they seem imperiled, whether, if I'm really worried or just a little bit worried, and I don't know, I'm wondering if you're the same way at all, is I notice actual, like, physiological changes. I start to, maybe, like, move my leg a bit, or, like there's a bit of an adrenaline rush, and I think maybe that's part of the excitement of watching this show.
I think we've compared in the past this watching Survivor to watching sports. I mean, it's the same sort of thing. You're rooting for an outcome or a player or a team or whatever it might be. And, when it looks like things might not be going your team or player's way, you get a little nervous, You get excited when they win, you get upset when they lose. It's the same experience as watching almost any other sport.
Yeah, so I felt a little bit of that. There was like the sweat glands in my mouth were activated, just sort of thing. And it's just kind of
sweat glands in your mouth?
Or whatever, saliva? Is that it? Is that how it works?
Is that what it's called when it's in your mouth? Is saliva?
I don't know.
I think it is.
I'm not a scientist. I'm just a podcaster. But yeah, and it was like, and something actually I've noticed about myself recently, and part of it's like, that's so silly. You're getting like adrenaline rushes from watching TV, but at the same time, it's like, if it's scripted TV and like a character you've been really invested in or is about to be killed, you might have that rush, because it's like, I don't want to lose this person. And in Survivor, somebody's killed every week. Except on terrible Redemption Island seasons.
Yeah, watch Breaking Bad and try not to get, like, an adrenaline rush as, exciting things are happening. Come on. Yeah, I'm not going to hold it against you that you got a little bit of adrenaline rush
but
watching
it was a little bit. But I also, kind of like you, I still felt, it's like, no, I don't think so. It's like, I was like, it certainly could be, but I just don't feel it. And then when, like, Probst, gave the last person voted out, it was like, well, Jen, but it was like, no, it's Vince, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know why, but by the time he got to saying that, I knew Jen had 2 votes against her. I didn't feel threatened. I didn't think that was the vote. I didn't think that's how it was going down, and turned out I was right. But never mind Jen, let's talk about the guy who actually did end up going home, Vince. Were you ready to lose Vince yet?
Not quite. I'll say, I wasn't shattered for him to go home, especially because it was between him and Jen.
Yeah.
But I think there was more television to wring out of Vince, and it's a little unfortunate that we're not going to get it. I know some people online are like, oh no, he was, a creepy stalker guy, I'm glad he's gone. It's like, I think we might be playing that up just a little bit too much. Yeah, yes. It was funny to talk that way. I think the show is playing it up probably more than it was in reality. I don't think Vince is truly a threat to anybody's safety out there.
No. It really, they had, basically that story came about, it really happened, but that storyline happened because Vince's story ends in episode 2, and you kind of need to lay the groundwork for why, so you may as well brand him as the creepy weirdo. Not that it's a huge stretch, but you brand him as the creepy weirdo in episode 1, he goes home in episode 2.
Yeah, if you want to talk about edit and all that, probably the shots of him, really intensely staring weren't always about what we wanted to be about. I don't care because it was so funny.
Yes.
But in terms of reality, like, he is the guy that hugged her for way too long. Like, that happened, it was remarked on. He is the guy who came up to Joe this episode and was like, validate my feelings. Like,
that was so awkward.
I know, and I wanted more of that. I wasn't quite ready to lose that, you know?
You know what's funny? I would never want to spend time with Vince, but I like watching others being forced to spend time with Vince. That's what I wanted more of.
It just kind of gets down to different kinds of ways to Survivor fans, and this legitimately is a way that, you know, you're not wrong if this is the way you are. Some people, it's like, I don't like that guy, he needs to be gone. And I get that. Sometimes I'm that way myself with certain types. But for me, it's like, I want to see this play out because Vince is an unstable element in the game, and I want to see how Joe and Jen have to deal with him. If he swapped over to somewhere else, I'd want to see how those people want to deal with him. Like, wouldn't it have been interesting to see how Max has to deal with a guy like Vince, you know? So,
well, I think we get to see that on Twitter.
Yes, that's a little different. And especially, like, the alternative is losing Nina or losing Vince. It's like, yeah, Nina's bringing nothing to the show. Vince is bringing something. We're talking about him. And here's, like, the big thing is, I would have loved to see what Vince back at camp following a tribal that he lost was like.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head earlier. There was potential there, and I don't know if that was potential to be incredibly entertaining or completely obnoxious and hateable, but there was potential there. And I feel like casting has to be pissed, right? Because from what I heard, they were trying to get Vince on for several seasons. I think they felt like they had gold here, that this was the next coach, this was the next, you know, weirdo, entertaining guy that they could milk a lot of good scenes out of, and they got 2 episodes.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the nature of Survivor. I think that's why, you know, some fans will cling on to the idea of, well, the first boot thing that we kind of made fun of last season, but even just early boots, is that, yes, probably some good casting was burned early. This is, of course, why the producers of Survivor like the idea of Redemption Island. It's like, we got a chance to hang on to them. Obviously, it was invented as a failsafe to keep Robin Russell around a little bit longer. And it sucks, but, I mean, that's Survivor, you know? And we probably lost something by losing Vince. That said, like, I wasn't heartbroken. It was like, I probably wanted maybe 2 more episodes of Vince, and then it might have been too much. And listening to his exit interview, it's like, I'm not sure he's quite as interesting as we wanted him to be.
The person that we were watching with, who is, again, not a Survivor fan, she'd never seen the show before, she said, hey, Vince is a nut job with a nut job. I thought that was very apt. Good little thing to put on Vince's tombstone for the week.
And bravo for you for crediting that joke, because you could have just...
I know, I should have stolen it outright. She's never going to know.
I know, it would have been like a coconut bandit, as it were.
Well, one more thing about Vince before we move on, though. Did it strike you as weird that Vince was, like, suddenly an alpha male type? Like, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things why it would have been a little more interesting for him to be along there, is clearly his whole vibe of, like, you know, I'm just a guy on a beach with the coconuts and the life coach and Burning Man and all of that, is just a little bit bullshit. He has the same insecurities as other alpha males. He so clearly needed to have validation to the point where he literally asked for it. You're not more advanced than us, Vince. You're not.
I think his pack probably appointed him alpha male after he killed that seagull that he ended up putting in his hair. Because that really just seemed like an out of nowhere thing. He's too good of an actor, and I was believing his new agey, you know, I'm one with everybody vibe, but I did not see the competitive alpha male thing coming from Vince.
Yeah, and I think this happens a lot. People that think they're above that stuff really aren't, you know, and in this case, yeah, it's the new agey guy. In other walks of life, it's like the nerd that feels like, you know, I can't be a bad guy because I get picked on in high school. It's like, no, you're a jerk too. You're just a different kind of jerk. And I think that was the case with Vince, and I would have liked to get another episode or 2 out of it. So, not at the expense of Jen, so everything worked out well. Right. But, you know, you can't say that Nina is going to make better television than Vince would have.
Hey, actually, speaking of Nina, that might be a good transition to our next subject, which is the 0% Club, the club that we do every week, at least until a certain point in the season, when it no longer becomes relevant or applicable. 0% Club is for the people who have 0% chance of winning, not who have a very difficult path to win, but who just realistically, from what we've seen so far, could not be the winner. So Andy, any inductions this week?
Before we get to that, I just want to shout out to our friend Matt, who is now a regular contributor to our website. He, this week, posted a new blog where he does his own 0% Club rankings and passes judgment on us. And you can look for that every week at our blog at purplerockpodcast.wordpress.com. So let's give him a little more work because, yes, I do have some people to add. And as your transition suggests, welcome to the club, Nina.
I don't think that's too much of a stretch. I think I'm going to go ahead and agree with you just because the edit that we've had of her so far seems to suggest, unless there's a rebound that comes really, really soon, this is not a season that Nina's going to win.
Yeah, and I think this is instructive of what the 0% Club is, because it's not just that she is now in a bad position because she is. You can rebound from bad positions to stick around the game. There have been people who have broken down crying or burying shoes in the sand or whatever have you early on that last quite a long time. I'm not necessarily suggesting that Nina is a dead person walking. What I'm suggesting, though, is no matter how long she lasts, she is not a winner. Because if she was, for one, it doesn't feel like she has the skills to do so. Winners don't make the mistakes that she made this episode, whether it be lashing out at a lot of people in her tribe or blowing her chances at controlling a vote by giving away too much information at the wrong time. But more so than that, if Nina was the winner of this season, this episode would have given Sean a much more favorable light on her.
Right, and that's the big takeaway here, is that if Nina was the winner, we wouldn't have seen the things that we saw from Nina this week.
Yeah, and there would have been less ambiguity over who was at fault, right? They would have maybe let her express, the isolation, all that, to build her hero arc later. But they would have made sure not to include, scenes of Haley asking her, or Hallie, I'm going to say it all the ways, I guess.
Just cover all your bases here.
Asking a couple times, trying to connect with her and failing, having confessionals where they say, they're somewhat sympathetic, or even just afterwards, like, oh no, we made her cry, they would have looked like awful bitches if Nina was the winner. They did not. Nina's not winning this game.
Right. Who else you got?
Dan.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna add Dan. I was ready to do that in the first, the Manchi segment, so to speak. I think he actually redeemed himself by the end of the episode, largely on his challenge prowess, and the fact that Mike seemed to annoy people more than Dan did. And kudos to Dan, when Mike's all like, hey, we gotta work. Dan's like, yeah, in a minute, I'm still playing here. So he understood the value of bonding there. And actually, for a minute, let's run it back for a second. That wasn't a coincidence that they were practicing basketball, right? They had to know that the challenge was about that.
Well, that struck me as odd, too. I was like, did they know that this was coming? Because that's remarkably coincidental.
Yeah, and the fact that they had the materials on hand. I'm pretty sure there was probably some tree mail that gave an indication of what it was. If not, yeah, how much would you have been have to hold back once Jet Probst is done explaining the challenge to be like, hey, Mike, good thing we were playing basketball, huh?
Exactly.
So yes, I think Dan actually did a decent rebound that maybe he's not first on the chopping block.
Speaking of basketball, rebound.
But he can't win. You can't make your winner look like they've made Dan look in 2 episodes so far.
I don't think I'm on board with you on that. I feel like Dan's probably going home at some point in the next few weeks, but I'm not ready to say that there's no chance that he's winning.
Yeah, I'm just struggling to find the combination of people that are on the island right now that would be like, yep, that's the guy. He is the best player here. I respect him. Here's my vote. 5 people doing that. It's just, I don't see that from Dan. From the way he carries himself and the way that people instinctually seem to be reacting to him. Now, as a caveat, some of those people are basically young women, right? Maybe we shouldn't judge everybody's reaction based on Sierra and Lindsay's. But the fact that, big old Dan there can say things and people will literally laugh in his face, does not bode well for him being the winner of Survivor.
Yeah. And again, I agree with all these things. I'm just not willing to say it's 0% yet. It's very low, but it's not 0.
All right, so do you have anybody besides Nina?
Yeah, I want to induct Alec.
I know, I was like, how'd you miss Alec? Oh no.
I don't know. Matt, if you're transcribing my picks right now, put in the picture of Alec, and that's my group. Nina, Alec, and then Rodney.
Alright. So that's who we got. Let us know if you think we're right or wrong. Prediction time. Who do we think's going home next week?
Oh boy. Last week we got a little ballsy and just sort of picked one person. We didn't even decide like, oh, one from each tribe. We're like, nah, screw it. We're going to decide which tribe loses and who's going home. I think we should do the same thing.
Yeah, and we got half of that. We got half of that prediction right. We both thought it was no caller. I believe we just picked the wrong person. Although we picked the target. I believe we both picked Nina last week, right? Oh no, I did. Who did you have last week?
I don't know. I think I might have picked Will.
Yeah.
Really, someone needs to write these things down.
Oh yeah, we'll just have to get another contributor to the site.
Right.
If you want to write a weekly blog about us and our picks, contact us at. So yeah, this week I'm all in favor of one tribe, one player. Who you got?
I feel like we're due for a blue collar loss, right?
I feel similarly, yes.
Okay, so let's both go for a blue collar, and I don't think it's Dan. I feel like we've been built up that it's gonna be Dan, but something's gonna backfire, and I don't feel like it could be Mike either. Maybe it's Kelly? I'm gonna go with Kelly. If
Who?
Kelly suddenly exactly, so if Kelly suddenly appears in the first 10 minutes of next week's episode, she's doomed.
Yes, if she gets the opening confessional, just shut her down. You already know what's happening that week.
Yep.
I think it's Dan. I do. I think that the desire would be that they'd want it to be Mike. Like, I think they're starting to like Dan more. There was even a bonus scene where Rodney was talking about how he liked Dan, and even Lindsay's kind of like, oh, that Dan. But you can't vote out Mike just yet, unless you feel really confident there's a swap coming out. Like, as annoying as it probably is, that he's always bitching about work, and, that they're gonna blow up. Do you really want to get rid of the guy that's, doing all the work? Even if you might not quite need all that frickin' firewood.
Yeah, who is he, Butch?
I know. This season is, we thought it was odd that they didn't use season 30 to do, a retrospective all-star type deal, but it turns out they're just recycling all the themes. Yeah.
Whole bunch of homages this season.
That's right. We got the new Hatch, we got the new Butch, we've got the new Christy, we got the new Heidi, and Jenna. But yeah, I just think, so they'd want it to be Mike, but they can't, so sorry, Dan. I'm sure they'll say nice things about him when they're holding up the parchment.
Okay.
All right. So, yes, if you agree or disagree with anything we had to say here, if you just want to call me history's greatest monster for not being on the Nina love train, you can contact us. You can email us at purplerockpodcast.wordpress.com. You can send
That's
us
not where
tweet.
you can email us, Andy.
Oh, well, leave a comment there, really. We'll get the email notification.
That is true. Indirectly, you are emailing us that way.
Tell them how they can contact us, John.
Why don't you let a professional handle this, Andy? Email us at purplerockpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter. We're at purplerockpod. And, of course, you can find us on our website, which is purplerockpodcast.wordpress.com.
Yeah, and as I said, Matt is now running a column. You have your regularly weekly column there about, Max and Shireen battling for your love. I have started a new column that we'll see how well I keep it out for weekly. This I posted today, or I guess yesterday for those of you listening, is I went and watched all of the bonus scenes that they put on YouTube, and I picked the 5 you need to watch. You can ignore the rest. It's generally people talking in less interesting ways than they do on TV.
I'm going to make a prediction that you delegate that column within 3 weeks.
we shall see. But yeah, it's we're doing stuff. Hey, I got a question. You said a lot of professional do this. Are you hiding all the money we're making from this podcast from me?
That's what Swiss bank accounts are for, Andy.
All right. Well, you know what? You earned it. I'm not tweeting that much.
Plus, you can't use money in your communist empire that you live in, right?
Well, I have less need for it, I suppose. The state will take care of me.
That's right. You have bread lines for that kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about Money?
Yes, but I've heard, and I have no proof of this, but the death panels will take bribes.
You're clearly up on your American news.
All right, so tune in next week. We'll talk more about stuff.
Hit the theme music.